Thank you so much. The bomber will always get through was a famous quote for a former Prime Minister, Stanley Baldwin, in the 30s. He was a completely pessimist. He said, why should we invest in air defense? The bomber will always get through at some point. So you might have 100 planes coming in and you can't shoot down all of them. So he decided not to invest in anti-air defense. Luckily, we had Churchill coming in afterwards, before the war with the Nazis, who built a lot of air defense, and they actually managed to shoot down a lot of planes. The reason why I always bring this in the beginning is because it can be slightly demotivating for IT people to see this talk, since it pretty much shows how easy it is to be a hacker. That's not meaning that you should give up, saying, oh yeah, the hacker will always get through, because they probably will. We can always find a hole somewhere. We need to keep finding, shoot down the airplanes, that's the easy ones, the low-flying ones. You should be able to manage to shoot down just at least some of them. So, what I do, the presenter actually did a lot of it. How many of you knows red teaming? The activity around, okay, there's a lot of them not running. So red teaming is the art of just practicing attacking on companies. So it's an old military fashion where you just simulate the adversaries. So me and my team is hired in by the CEO or the CFO or the board of a company that want to test the real security of the company. So IT department, security department doesn't always know we're coming in. And we're attacking them with the real tools that we see out there, plus some custom ones that we make ourselves. And we're actually seeing how do they respond, how can they detect us, and what do they do about it when they detect us. We see a lot of things going on. Remember one case in a big pharmaceutical company. They didn't discover us. We'd been in the company for a month or so. So we decided to play Rick Astley on all their screens. And I mean all their screens. There's more than 1,000 laptops playing Never Gonna Give You Up. Of course. And I got the picture from the IT security manager from his webcam just staring at his screen. That's priceless still today. We have it in the office. So red teaming is just simulating the hackers, and incident response is when we're called upon to go help people who got hacked by not so friendly people. So today we're going to talk about the bad guys. There's a lot of bad guys out there, but we're going to focus in on some of the more basic ones, the hackers. We have hacktivists, criminals, nation states. I personally think nation states get way too much credit. If you look at some of the statistics, they're not really standing for any of the hacks we see, at least not in our community. Well, there's not many Danish companies I visited who's been targeted by the American spy agencies, but they're out there and we hear a lot about them in the media. But at least in Denmark, as I see in the rest of the Nordic, we're dealing a lot with the Nordics. There's a rise in the ransomware, the criminals trying to target them just for financial purposes, and the hackers. The hackers is the concept we use is the curious ones, the ones without the big resources, and they have limited knowledge of the company. And furthermore, they have a strong will of mind. They really want to get in there for whatever it takes. So these are the ones we're talking about. When we're talking about the organization, and trying to secure the organization, it's important to think about the entire organization. IT is just one part that needs to be secured in a company. So when we look at the company, you have the web applications, the infrastructure, all the third parties, the human element, and the physical. And we're going to stop into some of these when we walk through this. So the question here is, could you stop a motivated hacker? I'm not talking about the NSA or the CIA, or all the other ones with all the cool toys. I'm just talking about a high school kid who downloaded some software and watched some YouTube videos. Can you actually stop him? And how would you do it? And what are they using? So again, this is not advanced stuff. This is pretty much basic stuff that we see in high schools and pretty much every teenager we see can get their hands on these tools. So method number one, that's my favorite. It works almost every single time. It's so easy. Any guess? We're getting back to that. Okay, number two, simple phishing. Phishing is so easy, and I find it kind of funny that a guy from Denmark teaching Icelandic people about phishing, but phishing is easy. So you spin up a mail, you fire it to a target, and you try to lure them to do something. It could be opening a Word file with some funny macros, or it could be saying that your account has expired, you need to re-log in. Please click this link to my super suspicious site and re-enter your passwords. So this one is actually a live one we found in one of our clients. They mailed Office 365 logins, so it looked like they came from the IT department saying they need to change their passwords, and they were met with this prompt. There's a lot of people falling for that, just typing it in. If you look at the US election or the election in France, they both had cases where somebody lured passwords, username and passwords from high seniority staff. So it's pretty damaging, and it's so easy to do. How many of you have seen Word macros or Word files just sent to you by random? Any of you? Yeah, invoices, and it looks funny. My favorite is just calling it something like Bonus Management 2018 or something. Everybody clicks it. So yeah, and for the programmers, you would notice they missed an escape or had a quote too much up there in the random generator. It's kind of funny. So this is some of the methods that we use for testing some of the companies. We fire off phishing emails. Right now I'm using some Danish statistics because we've done this in Iceland, and I know some of you are actually in here, so I won't humiliate you, because they had 60% click rate. But we basically just fired a test saying, oh, we need to secure the IT security of the company, so here's the new IT policy everybody needs to read, and then the link. And then when they click the link, they met with a landing page with the company logo, and they need to enter the username and password. I know that's mean. The second one was just a password test that we fired off afterwards. We did the one thing with the IT policy saying, oh yeah, since the last time we saw that so many people are using bad passwords, so now we need to verify that you're using strong passwords, so please log into this site and type in your password. And we had 11 people doing that, and the first one was 76. So this is extremely easy. Just firing up an email, it takes like 10, maybe 15 minutes to get an email like this ready, but just one credential is often enough to get inside, maybe a few, and they're valid credentials. So we can get in pretty much everywhere just by using simple phishing. Method number 3 is targeted phishing or spear phishing. That's the more targeted one. Maybe the organization have some more strict rules, or they harden the host, but you really need to get in there. Then you customize something specific to target them. It could be I like just to send my resume, just apply for a position. We've done that in some of the red teams. We just applied for IT staff. Just applied for a job. The good thing about applying for IT staff is that the IT manager at some point will probably see your resume. Does he click run on the macros? Yes, he does. He want to see them. He want to see the resume. So fire up a resume, send it to somebody. They will open it. The first one opening it is the HR department. What do they have access to? Salary, personal information, a lot of the good stuff, contracts. And then the next one, they send it up to the IT guys, and they always use the domain administrator for something. So we get that too. It could be the salaries. Yeah, this one is the old one. We see that a lot for the high-profile targets, where they try to hit them just by their curiosity, saying, oh, you want to see the salary of the managers, and then they click something, and they know it's wrong, but they know they did something wrong, so then they don't tell the IT department afterwards. So that's why it's so effective. Some of the things we see a lot is also scan for other services. If the company is utilizing two-factor authentication, it could be harder to get in, but then they go for other, like social media and stuff, like LinkedIn. Just fire up a connection saying you're a Google recruiter or IBM recruiter or something sexy, and say, oh, who's that? And click confirm, then you're met with the login prompt from LinkedIn, and then game over again. So it's extremely easy. How many of you have seen this? Tried it on yourself? How many of you are not going to respond no matter what I ask? Okay, a few. Thank you. Okay, method number 4 is the social engineering. This one doesn't take a computer. It can be done with a computer, but just walking in somewhere doesn't take that much. If you look confident walking into a company, or if you look like you're talking on the phone and you're slightly mad, nobody will ever stop you. So the second thing is the social engineering. It could be just calling somebody. We've done this so many times, especially in the bigger companies, just spoofing our number. This is actually the spoof card. You can just buy it. It's in a store, at least for Android, there's an app for it. You can just specify what number you want to call from. I do it on my boss all the time, so I call from his boss, and he always picks up the phone. It's kind of easy. So you can just set the number, spoof the caller ID. You can set it to spoof from an internal number, an external number. You can send SMS from other sources. So if you just call the IT department from a number that's inside the company and say you need to reset the passwords, most of the times they do it, no questions asked. Other times you call the person, the target, and say you're the IT department. We just need you to do this. Can you please click this link? We just forward you an email. It's coming right now. Can you see it? Yes, they can see it. So they have that thing going on for them. And it's so easy. The other thing is the USBs. I actually got it up here, the rubber ducks. How many of you have seen the rubber duck before? A few? It's just something like this. I don't know if you can see it. It's a small USB where you can take it apart. You should be able to take it apart. What have you done with it? You glued it? Yeah, I think you did. Okay, but inside there's a microchip like that with an SD card. You can basically just flash your own text down to it or software down to it, and then it acts like a keyboard. So when you set it in, it would just act like a keyboard, saying, I want to press the Windows button or type cmd.exe, open a port in the firewall, run this PowerShell script, and it takes a few seconds. Later on, we'll see some of the commands taken just for PowerShell to invoke. Yeah, I got it here. So here, just the SD card in here. Come down by our booth if you want to see it later on, and we can play with some of it. But it's so easy. Just stop by, put it in somewhere, or trick somebody to put it in. I had a military company where there were furious guards outside, but the way we infected them was me walking up to the reception asking if I can print my plane ticket. Of course I could print my plane ticket. Here's my USB. And then we have another one where you can actually store something on it too. But it ran, and it's quite easy and quite simple. So this is one of the favorite ways to get in, and we see them, people trying to do it, spoof calls from Microsoft supporters and so on, this in this category. So the next one is the physical access. It's closely combined with some of the things we see in the social security, but it's basically just walking in there. You can tailgate, like the one up there on the picture. You can clone some of the cards. You can find YouTube videos of how to clone the cards. The USBs you can put into the keyboard, where you can sniff it, the Wi-Fi key grabber. You just put it between the docking station and the keyboard. Then it would record everything you type on the keyboard, and then the next time you're near them, it would just dump everything you have via Wi-Fi to your phone. The same thing can be done with some of the screen cables. You just plug it in, you can sit remotely and watch everything that's going on to the screen. And this is the simple, basic stuff. You should see some of the most advanced things. Some of the leaks from NSA show that they like this too. One of the things we use a lot is the thing you see in the top corner of the black box up there. That's something you just plug in, give it some power, give it an Ethernet cable, and you can have there's a 3G modem inside, so you can control a box inside the company. You can do man-in-the-middle attacks, ARP spoofing, pivoting through the network with exploits, whatever you want to, and it's just a stealth box, and it's not bigger than your hand, so you can hide it everywhere. It's what we tried to do highlight on the blue picture in the background. All the small places you can hide boxes where nobody ever looks, where there's both power and Ethernet. The thing about physical security is if you're inside, you can mostly do whatever you want. One of my favorites, again, asking for a toilet. I only once experienced that a guy actually followed me to the toilet, and I really needed to go inside and infect them. So what I did was just making loud noises. And then he left, so I could walk around the company. So it's kind of just playing the thing with the social game once again, making them feel awkward. The same thing if you start being very mad, if you call an internet provider saying, I need to change my Wi-Fi password. Of course, you spoof their password, or spoof their phone when you call. I need to change my Wi-Fi password. Right now, I'm so busy. They would change it. So all of a sudden, you have the Wi-Fi password for somebody. Yeah, Wi-Fi attack, it sounds like something from the 90s, but it still works today. Some of the companies are still using pre-shared keys, keys you can crack, keys you can intercept. The script up there is actually just a simple PowerShell script where you can dump all the stored Wi-Fi keys on a computer. So if you have one of the USBs, you can just plug it in, then you have the Wi-Fi. EPAMR is a pretty new tool. It's just helping you attack the Wi-Fi's. It would de-authenticate other clients, having them reconnect to you, and it can do a lot of man-in-the-middle attacks. If you know the program Responder, it integrates into that. And there's no real manual configuration necessary for this. So again, this is script kiddie stuff, and it's so easy and it's so effective. We have some buckets that we use for red teaming. It's just a bucket with a car battery inside and some of this equipment. We can place it outside the companies, and it's sitting there de-authenticating, doing man-in-the-middle. We're also trying to build a drone that can do the same, but right now we have some problems with the battery. But SSID, spoofing, cloaking, or everything attack against the Wi-Fi is still a thing of today, especially if you live in a closely populated area. So method number 7, that's the lateral movement, because as we just seen, it's so easy to get inside. It's not really that hard. You can actually just ask for a toilet. But how do you go around unnoticed? And that's actually most of the hardest part, especially if the IT guys are awake. So what we see the adversaries do and what we copy them doing is living off the land. They use tools that's on the network already. So they use PSExec, VMI, PowerShell remoting. PowerShell is really a big thing. There's been released some very good tools the last couple of years. So all of these default things that you see every day, how many of you would think that PSExec in your environment was a sign of a bad thing? Another security guy down there. Yeah, but then you have SMB shares and all of that you regularly see. But how often do you actually see the HR department accessing the CFO's C drive via an SMB share? That's not regular. They access a file server or something. They never had that computer-computer communication. So it's easy to spot if you know what you're looking for, but if you're not looking, you're not going to see it. So living off the land, and most of the time, some of the tools won't work or they disable something. So that's why you have a so big variety of tools you can use. Most of the time, you need just a few outside tools too. For dumping passwords or having them in clear text. One of my favorites, and as we see it in a lot of the attackers too, attackers' favorite too is Mimikatz. If you don't know it, go Google it. It's pretty fun. You can actually invoke it. I put it down there. That's the PowerShell command for just invoking. The link is not right. Just don't go look for it. But you can just type this into any computer. If it runs as local administrator, you would get the password in clear text on the screen, just as you see green over there. You would see the password in clear text. Windows 10 has done something to kill it, but you can still do it. Other times, you can just grab the hash. Even though you can't have the password, or you can't crack the password, you can just take the hash and just pass it on. Again, this is the method of the 90s, but it still works today. We've seen so many places where they use the same local administrator password for the local, the same password for the local administrator, the SID 500 account. If you do that, you obtain the hash, you forward it to another computer, say, I want to re-authenticate with this. And it's so effective. So you can see some of the commands up here. This is just native commands, PSExec, invoke command, that's PowerShell, an AT command, SC task. It's so easy to get around, and it's so hard to detect. So this is a company, if you look at the date, it's a couple of weeks ago, the 16th of January. This was a company we did some red teaming for. We had one user clicking. It was actually just a regular email, regular phishing, not even spear phishing. They clicked it, ran the macro. That was the first, the infected host up there in the middle. From there on, we did the pass the hash, some pretty basic stuff, passing the hash to the local administrator and some other accounts. Found an account where they had a domain administrator logged in, dumped his credential, used them to infect everything. Then we got the golden ticket. The golden ticket is just a ticket that's really hard to get rid of. It's valid mostly for 99 years on your domain. And even though you change all your domain administrator passwords, the golden ticket will still be available. It's hard to detect misuse of the golden tickets. So we went for the golden ticket after 11 minutes. So pretty much the company was game over after 11 minutes. So the red teaming, there's a lot of flags put up by the CEO saying, we need you to look if you can get to our financial services or if you can get into another parts of important stuff like PI or our code base. And so we collected all the flags in 37 minutes, and then we spent a few hours just cleaning up. This IT department had their own forensics, so we wanted to make them a challenge. So we started deleting log files, changing log files, so they had something to dig into. I think it took them more than a week to figure out what we did in 11 minutes. So method number 1, you know what it is? Any ideas? Come on, I'm not pushing unless somebody guess. What is method number 1, the easiest way to get into a company? Huh? We have that up there already. Passwords. Plain and simple passwords. There's the Forbes article is from this December. 1.4 billion passwords leaked. 1.4 billion. It's in clear text. It's from Uber, it's from Yahoo, it's from Dropbox, it's from, I can see it up here, it's Sony Network, LinkedIn, eBay, a lot of the big major hacks. It wasn't anything new, it was just a very big aggregated list of all the passwords we find out there. And it was shared, as you see in Reddit, so it was on Facebook, it was on Reddit, young teenagers just sharing it everywhere. There are some tools you can use if you obtain a list of username and passwords. You can just type it in there, have a lot of usernames, and you can try them against an organization. Some real adversaries did this in Office 365 this summer, targeting a lot of high-profile companies. With a low and slow attack that was stopped. So they were just trying maybe 1 or 2 tries every day from a different IP address, just trying it slowly against a lot of different organizations, and it's so hard to detect. If you know what a password's been before, or the user have a tendency to reuse them, like winter 2017, or summer 2017, or Liverpool 2017, 18, 19, whatever, you can see a pattern. So if you're looking into these and you see all the patterns, it's extremely damaging. So what I did before I wrote this talk was actually go into this dump of 1.4 billion. Everybody can find it. You can find some of my private passwords in there too if you go look. But I did a search for .is domains, and this was the result. I found 74,812 unique passwords on .is domains, and this is not counting all the Gmail and all of that. And I really don't know if Iceland really loves Liverpool, or Liverpool people just sucks at making passwords. You decide. But this is actually your passwords. Any of you using these? The big ones are the one that's used the most. But what you see in the pattern is Liverpool 2017 with a capital L. That's used a lot, at 16 and 15, and right now they're using 18. And a lot of these words, I've seen a lot of passwords. I've never seen these, because you're using other words than I usually see in Denmark or in the US. We see Ragnar up there. That's actually quite funny, because in Denmark they're starting using Ragnar too, but that's because of the HBO series Vikings, I guess. But up here you have the real Vikings, so I guess that's good. The thing here is that this is a huge risk for organizations, because people can go in there. I actually find some attendees to this conference, IT personnel, their passwords up there. Some of them were long, 12, 14 characters, capital letters, symbols. Some of them looks very good, and you don't see them up here, because this is only, even the small ones have 4 or 5 uses. So all the unique ones is not there, but they're in there. They're in the list. So if you feel like it, stop by our booth later on, and if you can prove, that's the key word, if you can prove the company you're from, we can provide you with a list of some of the leaked passwords that we find. Because they're out there in the open, it's nothing confidential, you can find it on Reddit or whatever, but stop by and we can have a talk about it.